Good morning, hello, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you're getting this message. This is going to be the Daily Dharma, and my name is Dina. Thanks a lot for joining. So, as I was doing the pre-shuffle today, I had a big spill out on the code cards, the Sacred Geometry Activations Oracle deck. Picking that up, I leave one on the board here, and it fell all face up. And oh, I see another one that I had obscured here. Oh yes, I love this. Can't wait to show you this. And I'm going to attempt to hold this all up, see if I've missed any others. I feel like this is an obvious just storyline. If I just show you these cards right off the bat, okay, it's not going to all hold up as easily as I wish. Bear with me. So let's see if you guys get a glimpse of all of this. Some of them are not showing all the way. So I'll take them off one by one here at 111 on the counter. We have 21, the divine feminine, leading the charge, so to speak. And it showed itself as the divine masculine next, but somewhat eclipsed from that was this integration point between the two, both within the self and with another individual. And here on my cards that are on the table, but I wasn't intending to bring into the reading, at the top of my vice versa deck is this deep Two of Cups card here with this sacred union, and I'm going to pick it up and see the Nine of Pentacles left there, the front side. So both independent and bonded deeply. And this doesn't necessarily need to be a romantic situation for each and every one of us, but this is what's being shown. So if you can flex and take the message as you will, perhaps there's something in it for all of us. Then we have this 22, the divine masculine. And then next, consciousness. So a conscious relationship, or our own consciousness being lifted up and integrated by virtue of giving both masculine and feminine respect, and giving each side of our personality room at the mic of the third eye and the throat chakra. I did see heart chakra and throat chakra here. So then next we have romantic love, number 39. And that's going to complete my top row here, if that means anything to you. In the next row, starting heart chakra, between divine feminine and integration. Throat chakra, between integration and divine masculine. So this is connecting with the heart, integrating the heart into our choices, and then advocating and speaking that truth out into the world, as I saw 333. And there's our magical capacity coming out again today, number 31, between divine masculine and consciousness. And completing the row, number 40, soul time, between consciousness and romantic love. And then under the deck, number 32, Merkaba. And when I showed this to you, we had Tantric Journey remaining on the board here. And that is dead center between throat chakra magic, but above that, directly divine masculine. So Tantric Journey, if you haven't followed the channel as yet, to me indicates the integration of the masculine and feminine within ourselves, that inner hieros gamos, that divine union of emotional capacity and focused intention, which becomes quite magical. So soul time here is telling us about having spent the necessary time to connect and to direct our energy in such a way that we're becoming very powerful. I'm hearing projector. That wasn't where I was going to go with that, but we can go with that. To focus and direct our energy, being the director of a play or of a group in some type of a way, being an advocate somehow on even the stage of life in some type of a way, being an advocate for a certain collective or for a soul tribe here. You are perhaps leading the charge, like I always see the image of a garden hose, and then you know how you put your thumb or a finger over the top of the water, and instead of stopping the flow, there's so much pressure that it sprays with greater distance. But if you think about it, water is like a stream, and it's always magnetized or pushed, compelled by some type of magnetism or anti-magnetism, I want to call it here. And so the image is that one of the droplets is always in the front, but all of the others are the force that continues to push and propel the initial droplet forward. And as Rumi says, we're all part of this psychic collective ocean here, and we are the ocean in a drop. So we are representatives of the collective whole, but at times we can show extreme individuation. But ultimately, if you look at the physics of water, which has been a message coming through since 2 days ago, we talked about surface tension, and this led me to review all of this. And surface tension is the attributes of water and how it acts here on this plane, at least, and that I'm going to try to just make this as plain as possible, if I could. And it's basically talking about how magnetism works within water, the hydrogen-oxygen bond here, the hydrogen bonds, and the water itself becomes what's called cohesive. And how often do we use the word, well, not all of us, cohesive with, we want to be cohesive with a group. And it's talking about almost that magnetism, that sticky quality of the bond. And think about the symbolic use of the word bond. And it's like resonant energies want to stick together. And as they stick together, there can be a cleavage or a moving away of the other resonant dissonance energy. And because of the nature of the center molecules being, I hope I'm saying all this correct, being attracted to those around them, the inner ones have the most pressure and gravity, but the outer ones, the outer edge of this is not having the charge that expands it, such as like this card of Merkaba. I always see this as the central force, and then the ability to expand or contract, and both have necessary uses, right? So collecting that interforce and the collective groups that we're possibly representing here, and also the tension that exists on the perimeter of those views. And when perhaps in the moment I'm hearing, like when the beliefs and values of a group are the core that holds us together, sometimes along the perimeter there will be individuals who have either held a different truth or a different judgment or had a different experience. And although that's also divine, there becomes this tension between cohesion and what's known as adhesion, when things are separating almost, or I don't think that's quite the right terminology, but the tension that exists on the perimeter here is like, it's telling me about, for instance, any group formation. Sometimes those small differences, if not recognized and valued as the differences they are, it almost invites dissonance throughout the entire group, a disharmonious vibration when we held or hold any judgments against or opposed to apparent opposing energies between the members, can create those ripples. And I think that those ripples are inviting us to not only redefine our own resonance and dissonance, but to invite us to not feel like we have to change other individuals' minds in order to appreciate what they bring to the table. And it seems so simple, but how often do we become charged by that, particularly in romantic love? Because one of the activations that I've been working with through the last few years is on the heels of the death of my mother, which was profound, and many other differences and struggles that came through that transitioning phase. I've been in a romantic relationship here, and I bring this only to the table as far as to say that this seems related to the activation of my own inner divinity, the hieros gamos within self. And this is one of the attributes that can be attributed to the twin flame dynamic. But I want to say that with a grain of salt, and I believe in my core that it's not always this romantic dilemma that some people engage in. I feel that those are the precursors, and often there are individuals that come into our life specifically just to divinely trigger us to activate the fullness of self, to take the actions that we project as, oh, well, that's their job, that's not my job, and oh, that's their stuff that stresses me out, not something that I could grow and change through and activate myself through greater recognition and awareness of the values of others, and both recognizing their values and their beauty and their niche within the group is also divine, and their differences are divine. Because if we all just had these microclimates in our own little groups, we would not be able to integrate on the greater whole with all that we are. We wouldn't be able to be the ocean. We'd be like marbles, a vast bucket of marbles. And I know this is an American phrase, but that melting pot, there's often where I find myself believing that it's more just an ideological goal, and so many of us really fail to melt in. And that is also divine, because I believe the ego has a very important role here for all of us. Excuse me a moment here. I believe that the ego is also divine, and that the development of the individual serves the whole, because we are here with both polarities on purpose. I see that my audio starts to get delayed, and I appreciate your patience as my recording software and hardware and non-ability to edit or to filter. I hope that you appreciate all that comes through. Sometimes it's also evidence of the pressure of the channel coming through and the intensity of the energies that I'm conveying. It interferes with my phone's ability to function sometimes. I know some of you probably can't wear watches and such. Anyways, back into the channel here. It's like I bring this up thinking that there's a reason that many of us are resonating with this. And there is some type of extreme transitions that have happened in many of our lives in the last several years. Many of us beginning way decades before, but let's even talk about just since 2020, there has been so much unprecedented energies as Pluto has been moving through the end of Pisces and into Aquarius, which is such a critical point. And I don't even want to bring that up again right now, but I'm believing that this integration point, that tantric journey that I'm talking about here, is the, I'm hearing chrysalis, but it's the above and the below, and it often represents the actual mingling of that Shiva Shakti energy, the upward Kundalini and the downward Kundalini, and the momentum and the twist action, the action of force and torque and critical mass, focused and expanded from there. It's interesting. Let me just read it. The frequency of tantric journey helps us to unlock the hidden knowledge and wisdom that we intrinsically hold about how to reach a state of wholeness and completion through our sensual experiences with ourselves and with another. And sensual experiences, let's think about that too, as both the literal, your sight senses of hearing, taste, touch, and also the resonance of every chakra center. And if you are indeed on some type of a twin flame journey, we may be activated by the attraction. It might happen on some planes for some, others for are more intense for others, but this intense attraction point, it can happen beyond the physical senses and happen at those energetic epicenters of the chakra systems. There are so many more chakras than the primary 7, and I'm just feeling ripples of like this. It's like in the core of my sacral chakra, and that did come up on the pre-shuffle a couple times with something else I can't remember right now. But yeah, it's an integration of greater consciousness, greater power and potential. And as we activate the self, we're activating each other, we're triggering each other. And then as we're spending time with individuals, perhaps in a group session, in a group setting, there is so much to be reflected upon about how differences are so much more activating and inclusive and help us to integrate the totality of self, the entire ocean. And it's like, I saw this other movie, it was so weird. Well, I'll just say it in case you want to see it, but I pose no opinions about certain scenes, but it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. And in a humorous overtone, there were so many background things, but it was talking about the multiverse. And it also reminds me of Disney has done some things with multiverse and timeless energy. And all of this is kind of coming through as when the individuals are breaking through the solitary sense of being here and separate and individuated until, and Cloud Atlas, another beautiful one about multiverse and energies there. And so many, right? But there's this idea too of when we're breaking through, cracking through, it can feel very stormy, but we're being guided to see through the veils and to influence timelessness itself, time and space. And we're able to cross over thresholds to reach into other dimensions and other skill sets and to bring those into ourselves fully, because these are all part of our ocean. It's like they're not maybe part of our solar system, but they're part of bigger than even the universe is the multiverse, these pockets of other types of existence that perhaps don't even operate under the laws of physics as we know it. Because why would it? Because this universe is our physics. But there's metaphysics physics, above physics. And here we're governed almost by sacred geometry. It's something about the Metatron's influences is like guiding and directing specific energies here, and we are the shapers and sculptors of that. But we can cross over the threshold of even oceans of energies to reach into potentiality and to bring in breakthroughs in physics. I mean, at one time, recently we were talking about this, at one time we really believed that the earth was the center of the universe, and other theories exist. If you believe in other things that don't include that, then so be it. But let's not get into debates. This is just a channeling of what I'm listening to, the channel that I'm on. So anyways, it's talking about the activation of self, bringing that through and bringing the heartfelt truth, the authentic wisdom that comes from so much of what we actually are, the stardust that is mingling and mixing with the carbon fibers of our very molecular structure. Our inner chemistry is perhaps shifting and changing with the influence of the newness of where our little rock in this multiversal universe is going through. Perhaps we haven't been here, at least not in recorded time, but in our Akashic heritage, perhaps we can tap into understanding of why this is necessary because of this extreme transition. So moving into the other deck here before I go off on too many more tangents, it'll all come together, but I think we're on the same page here. So this came out under the deck. Let me start with what popped out. I got 3 cards here: birthing, prayers, and fearless. And fearless, if you've been watching, has come out repeatedly along with some others. And I was talking yesterday, for those that are watching in line, yesterday I was saying that fairy magic kept coming out on the pre-shuffle. Well, after I reshuffled afterwards, fairy magic, had I gone one more card off the bottom of the deck, would have been the next card up at 2222 on the counter. We are birthing a new reality. There are those that believe that we're going beyond the Kali Yuga phase into a new phase. And I believe that this is part of what we're talking about with this grander, bigger cycle. We're moving forward and pushing into new areas. It's like we are being squeezed on purpose. And it's reminding me that during the literal birthing process, as humans and other mammals will actually, the process actually massages the newborn, its very skin, and creates the beginning of blood flow, things like that. And those things are skipped, for instance, when there's the C-section, the cesarean section. And I don't know why that tangent had to come out. It's like, I guess it's because of the symbol speaking to me as though like the pressure is also divine. It's part of awakening our very skin and all of those mini little chakras that perhaps have been largely dormant and in the larger part of our life dormant, and then perhaps awakened when we're engaging our magic, engaging our consciousness in our prayer, our meditation, our soul time, and gaining the assistance to feel the skin awakening, to feel the chakras fluttering, to understand that the inner voices are not evidence of perhaps our madness, but under the integration and the activation of clear authenticity and reflection of our inner magic and how that comes together, can be the assistance that we've been waiting for to bring our prayers, to birth our prayers fearlessly into being with the assistance of spirit. And here we have knowledge and union under the deck. I'll pull those out here. knowledge is like extreme gnosis, the ability to take our truths and to connect with truths that we haven't had the necessity or the blessing of experiencing, and also engaging deeply with the compassionate empathy that we can engage by being highly sensitive and activated individuals. We can envision the way we would feel or another would feel very powerfully and utilize our energy to bend and shape and shift those energies, to transmute that energy and to bring it up, to call to that knowledge, to ride on the wings of the hawk and envision what the below looks like. And from that overview, from that angelic view, from that galactic view of perhaps channeling different entities, energies, beings, and envisioning that impulse is like giving us extreme messages here. I see this as an extreme activation point. And if you didn't hear before, if you take a closer look at this knowledge card here, I see this as an activation that came to me one time when I am activated as a Reiki master, but Reiki is only one method. It's one pathway, one vehicle that we have to channel through that divine essence, to fill ourselves up and gain that inner pressure of universal love force energy, and to project that forward and to share that forth with others. And my hands are just lit right now. And anyways, this was an activation whereby I, in whatever order, on either side of the ears and before the eyes and behind the head, and also the crown and the throat, and yes, those the 1, 2, 3, 4 stations. And it reminds me of the interlocking tantric energy that is the above triangle and the below triangle. It's water and fire mixing at the center point. And I guess where I'm going with that is, what is the fire? Is fire the solar plexus and water is the sacral? So it's, it's got a lot to do with birthing. Look at the orange and the yellows representing those two chakras here. And at the center, we have that blue and violet energy coming through from bringing that energy together very powerfully and moving forward, knowing that we have the capacity to activate self and others, and that they also offer activations for us if we can allow both their resonance and their lack of resonance with us to create greater unity here, in union with the entirety of the multiversal oceans here. Isn't that beautiful? So I love this assistance card here, right here. I want to just give another mention to the assistance that's coming in for us through these situations. And in particularly through our closest relationships, where we're being held accountable in new ways and seeing through the unconditional loving portions of our heart that are being activated, the words that we have the potential and the ability to speak, to help heal and hold space for, and to say, I wasn't feeling the way that you thought I was feeling during this, but because I understand the way you feel, now I can clear that up with my truth about why I may have said or behaved or done something that didn't make sense to you, because of the difference of who and how I am, the struggles and perhaps even traumas and suffering that I've endured have created this other truth, this other coping mechanism, this other thing that has arisen and surfaced in order for me to bring it into my consciousness, to integrate those needs that I have for myself, by myself, so that I can come to this as a whole and healed individual. It's not your job to heal for me. It's not my job to heal for you. That's a bit of transference. It's a bit of codependency. And although we can have a lot of functional codependency that helps us to operate in great ways, there's also a vast need for us to really turn on all of ourselves so that that other individual's burdens are lifted, because we can't hold that individual responsible for what is for us to do any longer. And just in that way, as healers of this time and space, we cannot give another our healing or our messages. All we can do is speak from experience and allow those individuals to hear what they need to hear. It's not about us clarifying, no, I didn't mean that, I meant this. It's like we can clarify all day long, but the words are empty. It's the heart that hears. It's the other chakras that are pinging against all of these little bitty synaptic and nerve endings that are all over, especially in the gut region. The gut brain is so incredible. It's the not the central nervous system, it's the autonomic nervous system here with that gut impulse, and it strikes us all differently on purpose. And we can assist others to recognize, well, please don't filter yourself. If you're feeling something, don't repress it. We need to express it healthy, happy. If you have needs that you need to have met, please don't overcompromise those in an attempt to solve my dilemmas, because you can't understand my dilemmas. Those are for me. And we owe it to each other to help each other to advocate for what their preference and their needs are with kindness and compassion, and to create the openness of dialogue and receptivity that says that they're not going to be shot down if they speak up for themselves. Because how often can we become ultra defensive when faced with another person saying, well, I didn't really appreciate the way you said that. It made me feel a certain way. Well, I didn't mean. This can come up in relationships. It can create a lot of burden and a lot of resentment. And I believe that this right now, this connection of inner Hieros Gamos moment is the surpassing of resentments and frustrations and hindered energy, where we're crossing that threshold of potentiality and being able to be more curious and inquisitive and say, well, you seemed upset with such and such. If it was something I said, blah, blah, blah. That's just one way. Oh, I better not grab for that deck. I'm seeing there isn't a soul on the planet who doesn't crave your approval over there. Let's get an oracle card from the Kali Kuan Yin deck here. Yeah, I'm feeling the buzz in my chakra centers, and in my head, I often leave the channel, and then I realize that there's this hum, a buzz in my head. And this is the energy trying to ground out within our self. And as you know, as electric circuitry, as our nervous system is, we can become overloaded if we don't understand how to ground out our energies in some type of way. To anchor into spirit is also similar, but no replacement for the ability to ground into earth. Oh, I'm glad that this one came out. So I got this one yesterday after the reading when I read my own, and I'll have to put something in the comments, but it's about